Microsoft is raising prices across the Xbox ecosystem, and boy is it a doozy. Let's talk about it. Hello there everybody, and welcome to The Comfy Spot. My name is Tyler, and today we're going to be talking about these brand new price hikes that Microsoft has announced for their Xbox ecosystem. And if you are not aware, these are some pretty significant price increases that they have said are going into effect as of today, May 1st. These price increases are applying to Xbox consoles, Xbox first-party games, as well as some Xbox accessories as well. And they are not limited to any one region in the world. These are happening worldwide. So, no one is really safe from them. For the sake of this video though, I'll be talking specifically about the price changes that are happening in the United States, since that's where I am based. But if you would like to see the price changes that are happening worldwide, I will have a link down in the description box below, directly to the Xbox support page, where it has all the information, the clear breakdown of how things are in each region in the world, if you want to find that out for yourself in whatever region of the world that you are in. So starting today, every Xbox console in the United States is seeing its price get increased by a minimum of about $80. So the 512GB model of the Xbox Series S is going from $300 to $380 while the 1TB model is going from $350 to $430. As for the Xbox Series X, the digital model of that is getting a bump from $450 to $550, a $100 increase, and the disc model of the Series X is being bumped up from $500 to $600. And don't forget, there is also that 2TB special edition of the Xbox Series X as well. That is getting the biggest console price increase, going from $600 to $730. It's a massive increase right there. As for Xbox accessories, I'm not going to go over all of them, but they are getting some price hikes as well, specifically controllers, headsets, and yeah, actually it was just the controllers and the headsets. The regular controllers, the regular wireless controllers, the Xbox Elite controllers, and the headsets are getting price increases. But I'm not going to go over all of them, but for example, the base version of the wireless controller, that is now going to be priced at $65, whereas the core and full versions of the Xbox Elite controllers, for example, are now going to be $150 and $200 respectively. Again, if you want the full list of that, you can find them on the Xbox support page that I am going to have linked in the description down below. As for the games now, Microsoft has confirmed that starting this holiday season, some of their new first-party games will be costing $80, and this will apply to both physical versions and digital versions of their games. This is not too surprising to see happen in light of the fact that Nintendo just announced that Mario Kart World is going to cost $80. They are Nintendo was the ones, who broke that window, broke that metaphorical glass ceiling of $70 price tag. They broke that, and they are the ones who pushed to $80. So with that being the case, it's just a matter of time before other publishers and developers push their games out at that price. I didn't expect to see it happen so soon, especially with Microsoft doing it, saying, hey, we'll do it next. But it is here, it is happening. Microsoft is also following in Nintendo's wake and will be making some of their first party games $80 across the board. So interesting stuff here, a lot of news, very shocking news to say the least. This was the last thing I expected to see this morning when I went on social media. But I want to talk about this a bit. I want to break this down bit by bit because there are some questions that I have regarding all this. Again, this is a big deal. This is a huge deal. This is a shock in so many different ways. And it just caused me to have a bunch of different questions. Number one being, what sort of effect is this going to have on Xbox console sales for the rest of this generation? I mean, we already know that this generation, Xbox's console sales have basically paled in comparison to sales of the PlayStation 5, like just without a doubt. The PS5 has been outselling the Xbox Series S and X basically at least 2 to 1, and I think that ratio has grown as the generation has gone on. If I'm correct, last I remember reading, it was like a 2 to 1 ratio, or maybe 3 to 1. I can't quite remember exactly, but they've been getting beat pretty badly by PlayStation. One can only imagine what the ratio is going to be like once the Switch 2 comes out. Granted, we are farther into the Xbox and PS5 lifecycle than we will be for the Switch 2 when it's just starting, but just for the sake of conversation, I do wonder how fast the Switch 2 will end up outpacing and surpassing the Series X and S console sales numbers, especially now that this is going to be a thing. When Xbox was already having trouble moving console units prior to this price increase, when the systems were $500 for the regular Series X and $300 for the Series S when it first came out. And as the time went on, they were still having trouble pushing those consoles, pushing those units out there. Now you're raising the prices significantly across the board. Like, I don't see any way in which that incentivizes people who were already on the fence or maybe not that inclined to get an Xbox. I don't see how that incentivizes them to go ahead and get an Xbox at all at this point in time. And I mean, for those people who were already maybe on the fence or in that situation, they probably weren't going to get one anyway, and this is just, not even going to make them get one at all now. And there is also the factor to take into account that this generation, Microsoft has been a bit more, hey, everything is an Xbox. They haven't been too worried about pushing the console specifically. They've been really focusing on expanding past the console. They've been focusing on bringing Xbox to TVs, Xbox on the PC experience, Xbox to, these handheld gaming devices, like the PC gaming handheld devices and all, Xbox on your phone, Xbox on your tablet, Xbox on literally as many devices as they can put it on. So with that being the case, you gotta wonder, maybe this isn't that big a concern for them, considering that they're trying to, really move past the console space. But even still, console is the bread and butter of Xbox. It is the core experience for Xbox. And even as Microsoft and has tried to expand Xbox beyond just the console space and broaden the ecosystem, Phil Spencer, the executives, have reiterated that the console is always going to be the core Xbox experience. That's going to be the best place to play Xbox. So with that being the case, again, just like, this is not going to have a good effect on Xbox console sales for the rest of the generation. And I really wonder, how hard the dip is going to be, how slow or how stagnant are sales going to become in light of this. It'll be really fascinating to see what Xbox console sales look like for the rest of the year, and especially 1 year from now, when we could do a year over year comparison, a year over year look at Xbox sales after these price hikes got announced. That's going to be very fascinating to see, and it'll be very telling and I guess informing, insightful in regards to what we can expect from Xbox going forward, and the direction that the company is going to be taking or might be taking, or what we might expect from future next-gen hardware, or what their plans might be. It'll be very interesting nonetheless. I do not expect this to have any positive impact on Xbox console sales, though, at all, in the slightest bit. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is the $80 price tag for some Xbox first-party games. We're in this new world now. $70 is not the upper limit. Now $80 is the upper limit. And with Nintendo, they said, hey, Mario Kart World is our $80 game. And whether you like it or not, it makes sense they would push Mario Kart as that game, because Mario Kart is a flagship tentpole title for Microsoft. I mean, not for Microsoft, for Nintendo. It makes sense they would do that. Whereas Donkey Kong Bonanza for the Nintendo Switch 2 is a $70 game. You would imagine that Metroid Prime 4 Beyond will probably be a $70 game as well on the Switch and Switch 2. But maybe a game like, say, I don't know, Yoshi. Say a new Yoshi game comes out. That probably would not be $70, or maybe it would be. Who knows? So obviously, when it comes to this new $80 price tag, your upper echelon of first party games will be in that top tier, and then things will probably scale accordingly. Like, we have South of Midnight that just came out recently, back in April, sorry. And South of Midnight, that was only that's a $40 game. So that's not going to be a $7 game or a $60 game. It makes sense being there. So Microsoft is no stranger to using the full scale, using a range of prices. For $80, I imagine that you'll be seeing Perfect Dark at $80. I imagine we'll be seeing Fable at $80. I imagine we'll be seeing Gears of War E-Day at $80. Now, say, what about Clockwork Revolution, the game that's coming from In Exile? Will that be an $80 game? I mean, for all we know, it could be. But I feel like that is probably going to be more of a $60 or $70 game. I don't see that being an $80 game at a base price. Of course, Elder Scrolls 6, whenever that comes out, will for sure be $80. What other first party games do we know of? State of Decay 3, whenever that comes out. I don't think that will be an $80 game. That seems more like maybe a $60 or a $70 game. There are so many other games that that Microsoft and their studios have. Say, for example, the next game from Double Fine, whatever that ends up being. I don't imagine that would be an $80 game. That'll probably, again, be no more than like $50 or $60, depending on what that game actually ends up being. So we will see ranges, we will see fluctuations, but the upper echelon, they're like AAA, quadruple A, they're hugest heavy hitters, almost certainly are going to be those $80 titles. So again, your Fable, your Perfect Dark, your Elder Scrolls 6, those are going to be your $80 titles for sure, without a doubt. The next Forza will be an $80 title. I can almost guarantee that. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Whatever the next Halo is going to be, Gears, those are going to be your $80 titles, and the others will be fluctuating between 70, 60, 50, 40, whatever the case may be. Now, with these price increases for the consoles, it does also make me wonder, what is the price of the Xbox's eventual handheld going to be? This has been a topic of discussion for many different reasons across the board prior to these price increases, just because this generation hardware has not gotten cheaper. It's been an anomaly. Typically, consoles get cheaper as the generation goes on. This has not happened this generation. It's only gotten more expensive, and technology. It's all really complicated, fascinating stuff. So it's all going to be very pricey for sure. That was never any doubt about it. But with these new tariffs in place, thanks to the President of the United States, that person, for lack of many more choice words I would love to use, but I'm refusing to use for this video, because of him and his tariffs, the whole global economy has been thrown out of whack. So what is the price of the Xbox's handheld going to be whenever that comes out, assuming it does actually come out, because the last they talked about it, it was still in prototype stages. I imagine it's not going to be a cheap device. I imagine it's probably going to be maybe, in the range of what the Xbox Series X originally was, probably in that $500 range at a bare minimum. I don't see it being any cheaper than that. In fact, I'd be surprised if it was cheaper than that. And I'm not referring to that Xbox ROG Ally, the ROG Asus collaboration handheld that is, coming out at some point in time. I'm not talking about that. I mean like an actual Xbox original, Xbox branded, Xbox official handheld gaming device. This is what I mean, and I imagine that's gonna be like $500 at minimum. Prior to this price increase, prior to all this tariff nonsense, maybe it could have been cheaper, like $400, but now I almost expect it to be $500 at a bare minimum, no question about it for sure. And as for next generation hardware for Xbox and also PlayStation, this doesn't bode well. Because, yes, while these price increases right now in regards to the tariffs are happening with Xbox, I almost imagine, I would not be surprised. I expect it to happen to Sony sometime soon. Sony has, in the year since the PS5 came out, they have increased the price of the PS5 in different regions around the world, although they notably have not done it in the US yet, most likely because the US is a huge market and they don't want to raise the price there and then cause their sales to dip any. But now it's at a point where it's like, How long can Sony hold out on not raising the price of the console in the US and everywhere else in the world as well in any significant amount? Like, I wonder how are they going to do that? How long can they hold out for this generation? And then for next generation, which, you know, rumors would say it will be coming within 2 to 3 years, around 2027, 2028, which would make sense considering that would be 7 or 8 years from when the PS5 and Series X and S generation started. And that is about the same timeline that we've been having for the past couple generations for hardware life cycles. What do we expect these prices of these new consoles to be for the PlayStation 6 or for the Xbox whatever, because their naming convention has never been consistent. You know, consoles, they're just not getting cheaper. They're getting more expensive. And I would not be surprised, you know, if these new consoles, the next generation, is starting at a minimum of $600 or maybe even $700. I mean, we saw Sony when they put the PS5 Pro out and they announced that was a whopping $700, which was wild to see and think at the time, and it still is. But at the time, I was like, well, this is the enhanced console. It's for the super enthusiasts, you know. The base one is still there at $500, the digital at $400 or $450, whatever it was at the time. So, you know, it is what it is. Like, it sucks. It's not great. It's indicative of the times, but this is the enthusiast machine. Now, what is the base hardware going to be? I imagine it's going to be closer to that $700 price point that the PS5 Pro is at. I imagine it's going to be similar to what the current point, what the new increased price of the Xbox Series X is at $600. I don't think we're going to be getting new next-gen hardware any cheaper than that price, just because of these tariffs that we have in place. Sure, even if they get removed in say a month's time or a couple months time and all, and they go and prices go, or not the prices, but trade tariff amounts go back down to what they were pre these current tariffs. That's not to say that these companies are going to decrease their prices or anything like that, because they may say, hey, you know what? We're still making money, so let's just keep the stuff at the price it is right now. Or they might say, but the tariffs have been reduced, but what if they go back up? Let's keep the prices where they are now as a just in case, just to counteract things. And we could always take them down in the future if need be after the thing is out. It's a really interesting conversation. But at the end of the day, the real message, the real lesson, or I guess, thing we could all take away from this is that gaming has always been an expensive hobby. Has never been lost on any of us, I hope. Has never been lost on me at the very least. Gaming's an expensive hobby. It's always been an expensive hobby, but it is going to be getting significantly more expensive immediately. I was going to say in the coming months, but immediately significantly more expensive. And it is a shame because, the games industry has struggled in terms of growing its player base, growing the people who are coming into the gaming space, into the ecosystem and all. And it's something that Phil Spencer has talked about before. I believe some Sony executives have talked about it. I'm blank. I feel like I've seen some of them talk about it, but I can't recall specific names right now. Phil Spencer is just the immediate name that comes to mind, because I remember directly reading interviews and quotes of him saying these things. And if the games industry wants to thrive, we do need to see growth in terms of players and who's coming in and all like that. And this right here is just going to do the exact opposite. It's not going to entice people to come on in. It's going to make the games industry and gaming as a hobby far more enclosed and restrictive and limited and exclusive to purely those who are just able to buy on in, who are able to shell out $700 for a console and spend $80 on a game or $70 on a game at bare minimum prices for the most part across the board. And it's a sad reality to live in. I've been a gamer all my life. I've been gaming since, God, I don't remember the exact age, but I had an original PlayStation. I had the very first PlayStation. I was born in 96, so I don't know. I think I've probably been gaming since I was like 4 or 5 years old. And I'm 29 now, so there's 25 years of being in the video game space. And, I can't imagine, what life would be like for me without being a gamer, without having played games all my life and everything having to be such a part of my life. And, I'm sad. I'm sad for those who will not be able to partake in this hobby, in this field, in this medium, and enjoy the experiences that it brings us, and not just the experiences it brings us for ourselves, but the experiences that we're able to have with others through games, the things we're able to learn and see and do, and just the worlds we're able to go to, so on and so forth. Just gaming's amazing. Gaming's awesome. And all these price increases for Xbox, for Nintendo, for PlayStation, it's wild. It's crazy. It's unfortunate. I hope the best right now for Xbox. I hope that Microsoft and the Xbox brand are able to, continue to be successful and thrive in some way, shape, or form with these new prices intact and, in effect, I should say. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, though. I know fans are definitely not happy about it. Everyone understands why this is happening. It is all because of the President of the United States being an utter fool. It's all because of him and his just so many things I want to say, but I'm not going to say them. I'm refusing to say them. It's all because of him and his desire to be the person that he is and just make stupid decisions. All because of that, we are now in this situation. So if you didn't hate him for one of the many reasons that you already should have hated him for years now you have another one. Your games and your consoles are now significantly more expensive, and they're going to continue to be more expensive. And I will also say, I want to mention this point as well, in regards to games being more expensive. Of course, game development has also been increasing. The price of game development has been increasing over the years. So this $80 price tag for games was shocking when Nintendo did it, but not all that unexpected. And now Microsoft following suit is just like, man, following suit that fast. Not so surprising. Well, kind of surprising, but not surprised that that's happening. So we could also pretty much lock in GTA 6 will be an $80 game, but maybe not 100. Although 100, I'll say, is still on the table. At this point, anything's on the table, but GTA 6 will most definitely be an $80 game. That's all I want to say, though, about these Xbox price hikes that Microsoft announced. Let me know your thoughts on everything down in the comment section below. Remember, in the description box, I will have a link to the Xbox support page with the full information for the price changes across the world. So that way you can read it and see for yourself what it is, how it is affecting you in whatever region of the world you're in. But again, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit the notification bell. That way you know as soon as new videos go live. My name is Tyler. This has been The Comfy Spot, and we'll talk next time. Have a good one.